Did you know that hypercompliance is a trauma symptom? Unrefined trauma maintains our nervous systems searching for resolution all the time, whether we recognize it or otherwise. When signs of injury are visible, it's usually due to the fact that we're overperforming. We're attempting to finish the stressful event by reconciling what occurred with our feeling of self. Put another way, we're living out the dream of what our lives would certainly be like if that thing hadn't happened to us the way it did. This materializes in all kinds of ways. Hypervigilance: if we would certainly been paying far better attention to our surroundings, we would certainly never ever have actually entered problem. Hypercontrol: if we manage every facet of our settings, we'll be able to adjust them to make certain we're not hurt similarly. Disconnection: if we don't recognize just how hurt we truly are, then we do not have to confront as well as recover from that discomfort. Mostly, our reactions can be viewed as projections of the four nerve system actions to dilemmas: fight, trip, freeze, and also fawn. Hypercompliance has aspects of both freeze and fawn. It's defined by either no interior exam of your feelings or one that leads to not empowering your sensations. Building a new neural pathway, its objective is constantly the same: to preserve the status. Commonly, this is a trauma feedback from finding out difficult lessons about the negative things that can occur if you prioritize yourself. Let's speak about how hypercompliance appears. After an injury, there are a variety of neurological occasions that can occur. We could obtain stuck walking as well as retreading the pathway of the memory. We're trying to penalize ourselves, address the mystery of why it took place to us, remove information in order to develop even more mindful plans in the future, and so on. In some cases, we avoid the path entirely. We connect the memory with a feeling, a nerve's occasion like a sinking sensation or a tummy flip, which reminds us on a primal level that this region need to be avoided. Don't consider this. It will certainly create you discomfort. Rather, we build paths around the original memory, instructing us how to without thought browse situations that would certainly otherwise trigger us fantastic distress. To avoid retriggering and also re-traumatizing ourselves every time an experience shares the shapes of the injury we've been via, our mind develops a procedure. Particularly in cases like repeating childhood abuse, egotistical abuse, or domestic collaboration misuse where trauma is repeated, endured, and pivots heavily on victim blaming, hypercompliance is common. Exactly how do you recognize if that's you? The face of hypercompliance: essentially, this looks like playing along. You might not also realize you're doing it, depending on for how long you have actually been practicing. In order to inform if you're being hypercompliant, consider compliance as evasion rather. Do you avoid sharing your genuine opinions due to the fact that you're afraid that you'll distress someone? A person will dislike your selection. You'll make an easy situation untidy. You'll enter into trouble in some way for compelling a person to include a layer of consideration for you. That you'll be penalized later, even if your assertion is taken well at the moment. That list is barely completion of the possibilities, yet they are several of the more usual concerns hypercompliant individuals experience underneath every one of the cautious planning. Hypercompliance can appear like quickly acquiescing to a request without believing. It can also appear like saying no to on your own initially since you await being rejected. It can resemble preparing for demands based upon previous circumstances of disrespect, extreme intonations, or berating. Extreme anxiousness if your behavior does not match what you have actually decided you require to do to avoid outraging individuals around you. Never having a point of view on what to eat, what to view, where to go, what to use, that to invite, or what to purchase due to the fact that you understand you will not suffer if you're not gratified, yet aren't sure exactly how well the vanities of others will take it. Separating from the moments of your life that you didn't choose on your own. Overpleasing, also fawning on authority numbers to position on your own directly in their good graces. It's important to enjoy yourself from a bird's eye if you can. The most powerful device we have against trauma is recognition. All of these trauma responses live their best lives when we aren't paying attention to them. Beam a light on it, force it not to comply.